Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals. This is part 2 of my Barack Obama will be elected president again in 2012. And I was going to do a video on this side topic anyway, because I noticed this cavalcade of events turning to Obama's favor in this last year, and this last 6 months, and these last 2 months during this election cycle. And all things that have lined up to basically do one giant psyops on the American population and convince them that they are better off after these last 4 years, in spite of all the evidence right in front of their face. And of course, Mitt Romney stood no chance because he is such a lame candidate. And to try and characterize this elitist billionaire who's completely out of touch with mainstream America, to characterize him as an average Joe is a gross miscalculation at best. But also, the GOP underestimated the power that can be unleashed by an incumbent president. And that's something that we have to take into consideration, historically looking back at presidential elections. And of course, it doesn't always work. It always depends on the effectiveness of the political machinery. And of course, the GOP have shown themselves to be extremely inept through this campaign and shot themselves in the foot with all sorts of dirty tactics, a cavalcade of freaks for a pantheon of candidates that were offered, and then to end up with the least offensive one of all, and that being the only reason he was selected as the GOP nomination. Of course, we won't go into Ron Paul in this video because that's not what this is about. So, let's look at what kind of weapons an incumbent president has available to him and how Barack Obama has taken advantage of that in the last year, in the last 6 months. And it shows how much power the executive branch and the re-election campaign of an incumbent president, how effective they can be, and what kind of heavy weapons they can bring out. So, we have Barack Obama with the ability to hold Israel at bay, possibly through the election, possibly not, in their attack on Iran. Of course, if there is an attack on Iran, it could play either way, depending on the effectiveness of the messages of the two so-called parties. And that is the fact that it could be an advantage to Barack Obama because people wouldn't want to change presidents in the middle of a war, or the fact that Mitt Romney would be selected because of the fact that we got in a war. It could play either way. Then, of course, we have Ben Bernanke giving a little juice to the stock market, because that's the only thing QE3 is going to do. So he's juicing the stock market because he wants Obama reelected, because Obama reappointed him, he likes his job, and he wants to have it again. Mitt Romney's made it clear that he would go. And now, Barack Obama and Ben Bernanke actually got Draghi on board. So Draghi was able to create more backdoor bailouts for the banks in Europe and keep everything afloat over there through the election. And of course, Obama actually sent someone over to Europe to make sure that the failing Greek state is not exiting from the euro before the election. This is a great amount of power to wield. But for the purposes of re-election and maintaining the status quo, there are a lot of people who will line up to support these kind of efforts. And then we also have some hold-off on the campaign in Syria. Chances are we would probably be more deeply involved than we already are if it wasn't for the election cycle coming up. So that's another way that public opinion has been manipulated. Then we have the German court deciding that the new ECB mandate is going to clear the Eurozone constitution. And that is huge. And I'm kind of surprised in some ways that they did that. But in light of the concerted effort between the Obama administration, Ben Bernanke, Draghi at the European Central Bank, all the characters involved in this scenario can work in unison to achieve these results. And we're seeing that. The coordination between the central banks and the fact that the donations from Wall Street are starting to even out more between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, and the super PACs set up by the Democrats are starting to collect as much money competitively as the Mitt Romney campaign, which had the edge. And that shows, once again, that Mitt Romney's campaign is deteriorating quickly. And with gaffe after gaffe after gaffe after gaffe, this facade, this puppet, this caricature that the GOP has offered as a candidate is crumbling before our eyes. So let's get back to the other power that Obama's been wielding. Of course, he's been stonewalling against all the big issues and controversial issues that he will take up in his second term. And of course, we saw a step up in low-level banker prosecutions over this last year and this last 6 months. So it makes it appear that Obama's been tough on the banks, while on his other hand, behind his back, takes money from those same banks. And they're starting to spread their money around more because they see the writing on the wall too. So we're going to see a big shift towards the Obama campaign. And of course, all the polls support this and are accurate. And then we also have, of course, the trying to paint the bailout as a success, both with GM and AIG. And of course, there's a bunch of accounting shenanigans going on in the AIG asset sales. And so to point to that as a bailout success and that we're making a profit is misleading. And of course, the GM characterization of another successful bailout is also blatant distortion. GM is failing, their market share is going down, they are going to need another bailout, and their financial arm ally is bankrupt. So anyway, those are some examples of the big guns that an incumbent president can bring out, and Barack Obama has, like many presidents, done that. And the GOP campaign, once again, has only themselves to blame for the fact that this can happen, and they did not plan for it. So, they failed, and I have to speculate, perhaps, that they might have wanted to fail because this campaign was handled so poorly, and their treatment of Ron Paul was so despicable that it's almost like they wanted to lose this election. And as a strategy, this, of course, makes sense because now they know 2013 is going to be a very ugly year for America. I guarantee you that. We're going to see another leg down in the economic collapse. There will be more bank bailouts. We're going to see more fragmentation in the Eurozone. We're going to see further global contraction. This is not going away. We're going to see further unemployment. There could be civil unrest. Food prices are going to go through the ceiling, which will spread more global unrest in all the same hotspots. And of course, we have all this military tension. And the fact is, regardless of what other kind of gyrations go on or what kind of hoping and praying goes on, there is going to be a war with Iran. It is inevitable. They are on the list of rogue nations. The list that Wesley Clark revealed was prepared in the 90s that had all these nations that are in the sights now on this list, and Syria and Iran are on that list, and this list will be completed. So there is a wrap-up of some of the highlights as to the kind of power that an incumbent president can wield in an election cycle if he has the team to pull it off. And we also see an example of a very poorly constructed, strategized, and carried out GOP election cycle. So they have no one to blame but themselves. So here we go. We're going to have 4 more years of Obama. Get used to it. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.